Alright, it's been forever since I've made one of these because I basically took a few months break from the game. But, we're back. You know me, it's Sky Striker. I actually did a Master 1 run on Pearly last season, but I don't think my deck list, like, what am I going to talk about in Pearly? I would max out on the field spell and the trap, but that's because this little stinker doesn't hit for me, but that's completely unrelated. Let's talk Striker. Um, so if you've seen other lists, I tend to like running like every spell that reads draw one and then all the striker spells. Thrust has come out since the last time I think I've talked about striker on this channel. Thrust is crazy. Well, I'll just go over the list. The idea is you're going second and leveraging the powerful effects of your board interaction and the sweepers for going second. So I'll just go over the list real quick. So we're gonna talk hand traps. We're not playing Into the Void, so playing a bunch of hand traps. Obviously, we're playing the best ones, which I think are Maxi, Ash, and Imperm. Imperm avoids your opponent's talents, potentially Thrust. I don't think Thrust is actually very good in a lot of other decks, especially going first, where you can only set a trap. Like, they have to have a relevant trap on hand. And that's just, if you don't know what you're playing against, that doesn't seem very likely. Maxi is obviously, you know, crazy. Ash is crazy and can sometimes solo Labyrinth on occasion, but it's neither here nor there. Those ones are pretty straightforward. We're playing 3 copies of Ray because Ray is the best normal summon. You want to draw a copy of Ray. Play 1 copy of Rose. She's here for the linkage OTK. Sometimes she's a good extender to grab off of reinforcements of the army, where you can like normal Ray special Rose. And some really jank hands, if you have like Ray Rose linkage, you can do like Ray Rose, make Azalea, and then linkage off of a different card in hand in order to keep playing. Or you can linkage the Azalea itself, in case you really need to destroy a card. Sometimes they'll Imperm Azalea, and you'll be like, oh cool, I'd want to linkage dodge anyways. And then you can linkage dodge, get the pop. They'll have wasted like Imperm or something. Or sometimes they'll just Imperm Azalea, not thinking about the fact that Azalea sends when you don't have, like, is it 4? It's like 4, yeah. If you don't have 4 spells in Grave. On rare occasions, you'll be able to actually just flat out make Azalea, which is nice. Our last monster, I am playing a Hamp, and the idea, is that you want, I can't remember, there it is, Herald of the Abyss is the other one. The idea is you have an out to Pearly cards. Generally you should have a good way to remove the back row of a Pearly player, although if you can't, depending on how many cats they've already gone through, that might not be too much of an issue regardless. But I think playing Herald of the Abyss or Hamp, one or the other, in order to out otherwise unaddable monsters is good, and I think Hamp is better because Engage is more accessible. Hamp is always a Sky Striker card. It doesn't say that in the name, but that's part of its effect. It's always treated as a Sky Striker card, so you can search it with Engage, which just makes it so much more searchable than Herald of the Abyss is. In my experience, half the times, your Pearly opponent is actually perfectly willing to put themselves off of having a Towers before you even get to Hamp, but I think it's worth having Hamp as a threat, and sometimes, I've had it in games where I have other monsters I need out. Another thing is, if you suspect your opponent or know your opponent's on Lightning Storm, you can use Hamp to keep them on a monster, which can be relevant on occasion. But that's why Hamp is in the deck, because I think Hamp or Herald of the Abyss, one or the other, is good. I guess if you're running into a bunch of Kaijus, you could run Kaiju things you'd want the Kaiju, you could run like 3 Herald of the Abyss, but that just seems bad. Also, you don't have to pay life points, and Striker is a deck where you're likely to randomly actually care about life points sometimes. Just because all your guys are really small. Next, I'm just going to talk about the sweeper cards that are generic. So we play one Raigeki, one Harpy's Feather Duster. Both of these are crazy cards. Just destroy all your monsters. Destroy all spells and traps. Are completely insane. Searchable off of Thrust. If you're going second and you have Thrust activatable and you're like against Lab or something, I'd always search Lightning Storm first, because this is the only one that requires you to have a specific board state, and getting no face-up cards on the field is a very difficult position after you actually set up. So if you're searching, alternatively, if all their monsters are in attack and you need Raigeki, then Lightning Storm does it too, obviously. Or sometimes you can need to destroy only some monsters so that you can have an Afterburners line afterwards in order to hit monster and back row, and that's something else to keep in mind. But Lightning Storm, Raigeki, and Harpies are just going second wonders. Triple Tactics Talent is as well. We're playing it at 2. I would consider cutting it to 1 to fit in another multi-roll, but it's also just kind of good to draw. But this is the card in your deck that has a once per turn on it that you can run into. That isn't a card that gets you directly to engage. But Talents is crazy good, obviously. You could cut 1 if you want to play like Change of Heart or something. You could try something like that. I would lean towards second multi-roll, because I had a couple of games where I had a Kagari for multi-roll instead of being able to grab Engage and then search multi-roll. I think the second multi-roll does have some use, but also it's not like I won all of those games. It's not like I needed another multi-roll in the deck. It's just like, that's annoying. I have to grab multi-roll now. You know, I don't go +1 here. But yeah, 2 talents. I would probably be playing the third, but we do have to, every card in here is very good, and it's hard for me to want to remove any. You could always remove Afterburners. I love Afterburners. That's why I'm on 3 of it. But yeah, besides that, we can go to all the striker spells now. Obviously, Engage is at 2, you play 2, it searches everything. It can go, get you an extra card if you have 3 spells engrave. Ideally, you get to set that up. That's another thing that's crazy about Thrust, is that when it's searching Engage, it's just a free spell engrave, too. We're on 3 Afterburners. I really like Afterburners right now. Being able to hit front and back row at the same time is crazy good. I found Jamming Waves is good right now. A lot of people have set cards, and I found that when I search Jamming Waves off of Engage, people don't early activate Called by the Grave or anything. Because I've had it. There's actually one I played against a Mathmech player who used the Cynet trap. Cynet Conflict, so I could not activate any more Afterburners, and they just let me get Jamming Waves and pop their Called by the Grave, plus another monster on field, which they shouldn't have let me do. But sometimes people just let you do things that they shouldn't. It's great. So yeah, I think Afterburners is crazy good. It's probably the lowest impact must negate kind of card in the game, because you just say target a monster, get rid of that, and then they're like, well, I guess I have to negate this if I want to keep the monster, and you're like, yeah, you do. Jamming Waves is a set spell or trap. It's significantly less good because they need to have a set spell or trap, but I found it, it has not been an issue. It's always been live. Against Lab and stuff, it can be very good. We're playing a multi-roll. We're playing 1 because this is just multi-roll's a card you get when you are in a commanding position. When you go second, I think you can get away with playing 3 because it'll make your other cards unrespondable too, so it becomes like a must negate, must pop sort of card. But like I said before, I'd take out maybe a triple tack in order to make room for another one. for like a second one, and I don't even know what I'd remove. Maybe an Afterburners for the third, but like I love Afterburners so much. It's so nice. But yeah, you usually get this, and then you loop it if you, like, need to get it back, and they destroyed it one time because they got to search Duster because you activated Ray Effect Engrave because you forgot that you're not allowed to activate Ray Effect Engrave anymore. If they just, you know, sometimes they just hard draw Harpy's Feather Duster, and it's really annoying. You're on Call by the Grave. This outs Maxi and, like, Ray Heavy Hands, or it negates Ash because that's normally the actual card you care about because you're trying to, like, plus really hard. And usually, you can get away with, like, Kagari Shizuku, and while you would like to negate that Maxi, sometimes you just have to be like, if they have Ash, I lose, and I can't afford that. But other times you have a hand that just doesn't special summon, so you just normal summon Ray, pass, they don't draw anything, and you were able to clear the board because you had, like, Raigeki or something, and that's just enough, or, like, a couple Afterburners or something, and you're just like, okay, who cares? Yeah. Being able to be Ash and stuff is nice. I guess technically if you wanted to cut a thrust for cross out Designator, that could be a thing you could do, but I don't love cross out Designator. But it beats Harpy's Feather Duster, so that's a reason to consider it, honestly, to me. We're on Hornet Drones. You just need to be playing enough names of Ray. Because that is, sometimes you'll just open a hand and you'll be like, oh gosh, I need my opponent to activate something in order to, like, turn on Thrust or Talents, or you're dead. And you can't get their Ray access or anything. Widowmaker's crazy, you get to steal a card. Sometimes you need to steal off of Talents in order to steal card monster and not negate it, which is nice. Usually Fenrir, because Fenrir will get to attack in and banish something and then run over something else, and you're like, nice. Shark Cannon is usually really insane in the matchups it is, especially with the advent of Fenrir. Stealing a Fenrir from your opponent's graveyard on their turn, when they summon a monster effect they need to activate, is just really good. Like, it just completely shuts off their ability to play sometimes when you steal their own Fenrir, and, like, maybe you already used a Widow Anchor or something, and you, want to keep them on it. Like, I've had it where, basically, they'll do, like, they'll, like, special Fenrir or something, you negate it, you want to keep them on it because you know they're on cash, and then they'll, like, have hard drawn Theosis, and then you'll just be able to steal their Fenrir from grave, and now for that new monster that's in defense position, they can't activate its effect without triggering the Fenrir that's now on your field. Just a very nice piece of removal, obviously. Linkage is crazy, dodges Imperm and stuff. Can make it so Azalea is actually makeable without trolling on your first go-around. And that's it. The extra deck, 3 Kagari, 3 Shizuku, 3 Hayate. Hayate gives you access to whatever you need. If you've been able to clear the board, or you're confident you can dodge, like, targeted negation effects with linkage, you can go for engage. However, I usually advise getting the thing you want to search engage with, so that when they inevitably hit you with that imperm and you can't dodge it, that you can search engage during the end phase, unless you already weren't going to search engage. Sometimes Hayate needs to send, like, a Widow Anchor or Shark Cannon in order to have it engraved for multi-roll at the end of turn. But that's Striker. You just need to know what's happening in the game and be on top of, like, what makes sense when. That's just a big part of playing Striker. Kinda stops you from getting killed. This is the reason, like, it's impossible for some OTK decks to kill you. Although, usually, why can't I think of what the deck's called? What's the recent one where it has the ritual and everything? You know the deck I'm talking about. But the point being is, any deck that makes you go first, by the way, you want to pass turn. Every single time it has always been either Numeron or the Equip spell deck. Why can't I think of what it's called? Whatever. But you know, the ones where they ram into you and deal damage to themselves. I've never had passing turn fail me. I'm sure eventually it will. Eventually there'll be another, like, striker player who's just going second or something, and they'll be like, oh, you just gave up a turn for no reason. But in my experience, it's just way easier to, just pass the turn and say, you're playing a go second deck that cannot kill me unless I've committed to the board, and just not commit to the board. If they do, like, activate Maxi and draw, though, I would advise activating Thrust, because, yikes, and then you can just, like, set Imperm or something. But yeah. So all of the link ones are the ones you are constantly using, to the point where I would consider putting in an extra kinda if you wanted to, honestly. Phoenix hasn't come up in for forever for me. I used to be on Unicorn too, but Unicorn also just wasn't coming up, so I cut it so I could put in Azalea. Zeke is a great way to stay on striker names, and sometimes is a great way to like clear your own board. So if you're playing against one of those go second decks and they need you to have a board and they pass and you want to start getting damage in, you can like go through, like maybe you have Brave Bros or something, and you can go like deal 4,500 damage to make Zeke banish self. And that way, that you still don't have a monster on field, but you are able to get in some damage, and the next turn you should be able to kill them in most scenarios. Azalea is a corner case pop. If you are able to activate way later in the duel, it's just a pop for free, but you need light and dark monsters, because this is just a chaos card for some reason. And you need 4 spells engraved, which is just a lot of spells to have engraved, because when you most likely need that pop is at the beginning of your turn, which means you're likely to not have any spells engraved. But Azalea does come up, but is also like super cuttable for a different generic link or an extra kinda or something if you want to save the URs and you don't have Azalea. But I think Azalea is like a generically good card for other decks. Access code. This has not come up. Like it did actually come up the other day when I was making my way to Master 1, but it just has not come up like at all for me. The last time it did, I was dealing Heat Soul and just using an access code line to OTK my opponent because they're at 6,000 life points, because I had linkage and a way to, you know, make access code talker, and then linkage off access code talker for a striker name to win. Zeus is in here, basically for similar reasons. You'll sometimes you'll be able to steal an Xyz monster, and then just make Zeus on top of it and say, "Can you beat Zeus?" And it is not infrequent that the answer is just no. But yeah, that's the deck list. I was pretty happy with this. I had a pretty good run with it. But that is, that's what I had Master 1 with. Alright. I've rambled on too much. Bye.